Florence Eid joins us, founder and CEO of Arabia Monitor. Florence, sixth day of protests now in Cairo. It doesn't look like they're anywhere close to stopping by the looks of things when just judging by the pictures. They're demanding military council speeding up a transfer of power to a more civilian government. Do you think the demands are going to be pushed through to the time frame that they want? And how, where in the scale of seriousness, I guess, do you see this second round of protests in Egypt now?
We've seen a fluid situation in Egypt before this year. I've been here and we've discussed it, and so a fluid situation is very much the name of the game in the Middle East today, and we just have to work with that. These are momentous tectonic shifts taking place in the region, and things are not going to turn overnight. Some of these processes we're witnessing have required hundreds of years in other parts of the world. So having said that, in Egypt, the test today, with respect to what's going on this week, very short term, is whether the elections are postponed or not. My hope is that they will go through with starting the elections as planned, on schedule, and that they won't be interrupted through the process, because it is a long process. It takes 8 to 10 weeks or so. That's the real test. If over the next couple of days, tomorrow is a Friday, Fridays are big demonstration days, if over the next couple of days we get uncontrollable violence, the government, the military ruling council might resort to postponing the elections, which I think would be a mistake. Because that would only accelerate its own departure and possibly in a less friendly manner than they have in front of them now.
With what's happening in Egypt at the moment, are you seeing an increase in kind of the spillover effect into a strengthening of the protests, say, for an example, in Yemen, as well as in Syria, for that matter, as well?
I think the contagion is there. Whether we're going to see more contagion or less contagion in the Middle East today is a matter of small degrees, quite frankly. The contagion is already there. I think where there is an influence and expectations now on the Egyptian situation is from Tunisia, ironically, because there things have progressed so well that that's become the barometer.
They had their elections.
They've had them, and they've progressed very well. They have, the results have been fairly orderly. There's not been, and so that's the comparator today for Egypt, and as a result, Egypt doesn't look as good as it would have otherwise. But the protests, the numbers, none of this is new for Egypt. It's a gigantic country, most of which continues to function in a normal fashion. 80 plus million people, even if you have 1 million in Tahrir Square, which we don't
Florence,
today, then...
If I could back you up for 1 second, something maybe for people who aren't very familiar with the Egyptian political system. We hear that there were going to be parliamentary elections on Sunday, and yet the protesters were protesting anyways. Why aren't they satisfied with parliamentary elections? Why wasn't it enough?
I think it's because people lost patience, because the process of arriving at the period of starting the elections, in my view, in my humble opinion, it was too long. It took too long. The order of the elections and the creation of a new constitution, all of that, that was probably not the best possible order. But very importantly, I think this also has to do with two more parameters that are important to take into account. One, there is the upping of the ante by a group that expects to win a sizable minority, and that's the Muslim Brotherhood, and there's a lot of excitement around all of that, creating both positive and negative results on the system, in my view. And secondly, I think it's reasonable to say that the economic teams in place during the transition, the ministries, what have you, did not come through with programs to attract the funding that was committed, say, from the Gulf, in order to placate people on the streets.
Florence, thank you so much.
My
Florence Eid, founder and CEO of Arabia Monitor. A lot going on in the Middle East at the moment. It continues to be very interesting.